Eskrima, the indigenous fighting art of the Philippine Islands, also known as Arnis or Cali. It is one of the fastest and deadliest martial arts in the world. Although commonly perceived as a stick fighting art, it is just one component of a complete fighting system. It includes a mastery of short and long-bladed weapons, as well as a variety of empty-hand techniques. The spiritual home of this Filipino fighting art is the island of Cebu. Located in the center of the Philippine archipelago, Cebu has been a trading center and a confluence of cultures since ancient times. Cebu is also home to some of the greatest Eskrima masters in the world. The history of Eskrima in Cebu began in the 13th century when the Srivijayan Empire from Java ruled most of Southeast Asia. They were overthrown by the Majapahit Empire from eastern Java and were forced to flee north to the Philippine Islands. The Srivijayan refugees settled in the central part of the archipelago in what is now known as the Visayan Islands. The Srivijayans were a warrior culture and were said to have brought the technology of forged blades to the islands. When the Spanish came in the 16th century, these Visayan warriors were already practicing a systemized form of warfare against other tribes. In April 27, 1521, Spanish explorer Ferdinand Magellan met his demise at the hands of these Visayan warriors in the Battle of Mactan. The Spanish returned in greater numbers, and with the aid of superior technology, eventually subjugated the islands. After 300 years of Spanish colonial rule, there was a growing fear of rebellion. The Spanish prohibited the Filipinos from practicing Eskrima. The Eskrima masters went underground and began training in secret, using sticks, bolos, and knives, since they were readily available to civilians. Escrimadores soon made stick fighting an art form unto itself. No longer limited to blade-based linear strikes, the emphasis was now on speed and accuracy. Using the stick, meant that attacks could come from more angles and at closer ranges.
Traditional linear is when you strike, it's like a blade. It's a blade pattern strikes, eh? It's like a blade. While the snap wrist, the flicking strike, curving strike is, abanico is part of them. This witik, curving strike. The advantage of this is even if he blocks the strike, it still circles around the defense. Hits it. He blocked the strike, it circles around the defense.
Nanay yung napita, igong ko na. Bisay kung saan ba niya, maigong na siya na. Igo. Pagana. Igo. Pagana kung guko siya. Igo. Pagana ko, iguko siya. Igo gapon.
Too dangerous to attempt with bladed weapons, Escrimadores could now perform disarming maneuvers, of which they have an endless repertoire.
So ang bahito na ko yun eh, nagbunan ako gurita-gurita lang. Bukuli ako, ba't pa ako? Ano ko?
Iyan ang kuhaon. Kuha ako muna. Kuha sa rin ko.
In the early days, each tribe or clan practiced its own system of Eskrima. These were closely guarded secrets, which were passed on from one generation to the next.
Ang akong uyuan na si Arsenio Camurnay, mo ito'y eskrimador. Wa pa nga linig lapunti. Wa pa ito sayangan, eskrima lang. Ana, hangtod nga. Nakato na akong amahan, tinuluan sa akong tuan, akong uyuan.
My grandfather and his brothers been practicing the art since 1890.
Watch how the hit with the cane, using the single and double slashes or the half slash.
Kung sa eskrima tayo siya, abaniko ni. Ana raman akong buwan niya, kung may pa. Ana. Akong gidibilog kay mo may gidasa akong amahan. Since nga pagkahibaw din akong eskrima,
Cañetes, my father, he learned, nakat-on sila from my father and my uncles and from other masters. But when they meet with the Sabidras, they found the two Sabidras to have very good techniques. That their Eskrima was superior. They adopted the Cañetes as their first, among their first few students.
Kaming 8 brothers, akong 8 brothers, and both Eskrima. O nga, di ba sila gusto mabiyahin ko? Yapig ko din na. O nga, sa silang practice, kuyo ko. O. Gulo ng mga apoy sa mga simador, mga master, ako dito. Lalo mang ko sa umaguwang.
Kato akong papa, pwede mo ito ibalin ni ang guruti sa left. Nakusgan mo to akong papa. Kaya eskwela man po si Idiox Muni, kung mga manghod, eskwela man po sila po. So, ako kay primero, ako kay bidibadi sa kong amahan yun.
ako papa, athlete siya, gusto niya sa mga martial arts. Before nga, noon, nana sa iyang amahan, nana sila mga dumbbell at una. Kaya, magbiyahe man siya, ato mga laylay lugar, si Kihor, abot siya mga Bicol, mga isla-isla. Katong sa mga eskrima, daghang mga eskrima, tawag yung sombra, sukiti, sombra mo nang magpayong-payong kayo, sombra means shadow. Karo ano payong.
Ang iso sa kong mga eskrimador. Iso sa kong ina, mga eskrimador. Lasa mo dugo.
easy because you can just use this. When you punch the other side, and block, and then I can
Di ko man napugngan. Kaya malubag man ko. So yung tanaw niya kuha niya, buhian ko na. So kawat ko siya. So muna ni kawat na. So na. Counter siya, ni counter niya, ingon ko.
So, bago ka na ko siya. Ito ko na judo ko, sumbag siya, pa. Magyatan.
Magana niya. Tanaw sitwasyon, hopeless no. Hamang flow niya, padong diri. So, flow na ko, padong sa diri, padong sa diri. Ito ang flow na ko. Di ko siya mo-against na ko diri. Kaya kung gana ko mo-against siya, against. Against, tuyok sa kumar to. Lubag siya nga rin.
After the American regime was established in Cebu, the Americans encouraged the Filipinos to practice the right. So everybody, all masters, grandmasters, they came out in the open, and that's how they started. So in 1920, with the Sabidra uncle and nephew, they led the group of Salvadors. They formed the first ever martial art club in the Philippines, itong Labangon Fishing Club. Labangon Fishing Club disbanded in 1930. Then 12 masters revived. Spearheaded by my father, they formed Dusipares.
Dito, pagkatukod na si pare, gimoto nila para nga wanay rivalry. Lain-lain ko pa rin online na club la. Isig daot, sige mayroon niya mo. Ato hinay nga, ato ni we have to unify all our club to avoid rivalry.
It seems the idea came spontaneously.
They called Dusipares the best name on the 12 fighting bodyguard of Emperor Charlemagne of France. Each member has his own style, teaching his own style. They have this larga mano, others media largo, medium range, others corto. In corto, they have different styles. And there were masters who were only good in intihads. There were masters who were good only in knife fighting. And there were who specialized only in long blade or bolo fighting.
The perennially secretive masters now shared their techniques with one another. This exchange of ideas brought the fighting art of Eskrima to another level. Grandmaster Filimon, Momoy Cañete, was perhaps the most respected escrimador of his era. He served as the chief instructor and guiding figure of Doce Pares until his death in 1995.
Mamuti kugihan sa mga namubase. Mamuti lang yung tema, nagdami tanan. Kasi may apil mo na ni. Kaya mo old sila mo. Inspire na mo, apil mo na kay Mane para sa prepare. Mo sa kang bukok sa tanan.
Watch closely now the various movements of Professor Filimon Cañete. They're using a wooden dagger for practice.
Si Momoy Cañete, kung panahon na ito niya, mo to siya most popular sa Arnis o sa Eskrima. Pero ang iya yung most popular yun niyang yung system, kaya yung espada idaga. Sword with niya katong iyang bullwhip, na tiguba. Niya, ang iyang system, gitawag niya Arnis, Eskrima, San Miguel.
Knife fighting and tail fighting. advance price. What's close enough?
Momoy, as a leader, is very, very honest. Especially to his boys. He cares for his boys.
Mo gusto siya pinaka maayo gyud bisag sa unsang paagi combat Arnis kuan siya pare daga mo gito siya noon gyud kayo.
Black and fire of Professor Committee. There's the strike, double strike, and the hook. He was trying to cut the professor's head, Garotti, but look what happened.
In the olden days, Escrimadores were known to be healers as well. They believed in charms and amulets known as anting-anting and the orasyon, a spoken prayer.
Mga 90% sa mga Escrimador na ito, doon ay words of power.
Ang katos tatay na ito yung orasyon siya, pati pagpanambal, pagabiti sa mga G. Ano sa'yo papel lang nga yung itamdan ba? Ito ang isuot niya mga party pagpanambal.
Tapos Papa, he is not an ordinary person. He possesses also a talisman. He is a talisman. Doon natin siya anting-anting. Until his death, iyan ang gida. At siya dito sa ordinary ng tao para nako asisan. At pila natin siya masuway nga tirahan og armas wa kabuto. Oo, ni fail. Gyud sa to ba doon na dito siya protection ba.
Kini mo na gitawag nga habak or amulet sa English or anting-anting. Ang unang tawag ni habak kay ani ibakos mo niya sa hawak. Mabuhat ni doon na may kusog. Wala makusgan ka. Ikaduha maabti ka. Ikatulod di ka migo. Gumigo ka mga di ka sakitan.
Sword ni, shield ni. Sword ni, shield ni.
Checking is to monitor, control, blank your attacking weapon with your free hand. When you strike, black, there's always a chicken hand.
May mo, agdaw na po doon eh. Kaya naaman ni siya pirme. Bisag piyong nga pa rin ako, asap sa dagat. May bawa ang yan. Okay. Basing on senses ng mundo.
Any object nga mo pakgam sa akong pamatay nga kamot. Mao ni mo dispanta.
Okay, this is how I check. I check you there doing what you feel. Where you go next? Down. You know why he goes down? You know why he goes down? Because I influence his brain to go down. Why? Because of my check. Look at how I conduct the check. This little finger make him feel that there is resistance. Pull back a little. See? There is resistance. You go up. There is resistance. What is an area no resistance? That is where I want him to go. That is the area apparently open for target.
May mo blafo na ko siya pag una niya. Bana ko. Hindi makatag. Buko siya. Pukto ako pirmi. Always may na-pirmi. Kaya kung mabante siya, mingo siya. Ano no? Na-pirmi.
So when I do like this, I check automatically he knows. There is resistance, there is no resistance. When he goes near to it, no. No. Because my check just turn to the pellet. He cannot see. Go down. There is. But there is no resistance here. So when he goes like that, when he attack here, no. I can just go. In 1948, 1949, 1950, up to 1952, those Paris was rocked by a lot of intrigues and jealousies. Not only among masters, not so much. It was among the followers of the different masters. Each were trying to outdo each other, that my style, my master style better than yours. The group mainly in against each other were the group of Grandmaster Ansyong Bakon and the group of Grandmaster, my uncle, Kakoy Cañete. And there were other groups, minor groups, but these two groups were just, they really hated each other too much jealousy.
Grandmaster Venancio, Ansyong Bakon, a former pupil of Lorenzo Saavedra, was considered one of the best escrimadores in the Doce Pares Club. His skill won him many followers. Among them were Delfin Lopez and Timoteo Maranga, members of the Cebu City Police Force, who were known as formidable fighters.
Katod Delfin Lopez lang, dako ka ito. Si Maranga, dako ka ito. Yung anong nagpataon man niya, Arnis.
Pag Antonio, pagkakita niya ang Anso, piting gamay sa, mo niya sa to, gamay na, sayo na ibunal, kay para niya, kumao sa sayo na ibunal, gamay na. Sus, pagkasuway na sa guling, kaliso na, maraming bakasi.
Nabi siya inborn talent ba nga, dali siya makareact sa mga pinagis mga bunal, daghan sa di suway bunal, pati lang mga dipinsa, dali siya makareact. Nga iya sa iyang kaguling mong pamaagi.
Mas snappy, tiguwang siya nga di kakakuan sa yung edad nga, yung lihit mo binama. Snappy niya, bugbo kayo. Niya kalit isa na gagmay, likay, dili, gagmay, dili isa na likay. Maglikay pero magsunod ang iyang attack. Na ba?
One time, Ansyong Bakon, doon ay nanghagad ni Ansyong Bakon. Diris talisa ito giduwa. Dua ka buk grote, maragog sungkod god. Pagbunal, nilihay sa Ansyong Bakon. Oto pag-igo, pagsunod bunal, pagkadua may grote niya, tag-as patistanan. Isagang Ansyong Bakon. Muin man kita. Pagkadabak! Kung ako sa diri, gisin sa dagan god.
Early 1952, Bakon got out of Doce Pares with Lopez, Maranga into, and they put up there on top, Balintawak.
Named after the downtown side street, where they held practice sessions, Ansyong Bakon and his followers developed the Balintawak style of Eskrima.
Kendo si pero si nato, doa man ka garote, magana amaraman, amara ana. Hangtod nga garote og hanting puntay daga na, puntay daga. Yung una-unang Ansyong nga nita ko glain ini ay. Mag-imbento ko glain mo to nga one stick na lang.
Balintawak fighters favored a brutal and efficient close-quarter fighting style, more suitable to their urban environment.
Nga kini siya, ipukpok ni, diri pukpok, bunal ni, sumbag ni, siko ni. Kini siya, mga oras na ni. Managpa na, mupus and pull na. Kini musiko na ni siya. Muna ang giimbento ni Ansyong.
An intense rivalry soon formed between the Doce Pares and Balintawak clubs. They began to pit their most able fighters against each other in no-holds-barred challenge fights.
They call it the Hoiko Todo or thief matches because every time you spar, it's like a duel. You know, no headgear, no protector, and it's full contact. It's fighting.
Dueling was a long-standing tradition for Escrimadores. When there were no wars to fight or conflicts to settle, they would seek out one another to test their skill. It was a common practice for the duelists to sign injury waivers before they fought. Severe injuries and even deaths were known to have occurred.
Oh, sabot to siya nga. Ipilitan kita duha, magsabot nga magduwa ta. Ana, pero surrender lang ug di kagwanta.
Kung sabay credit ana ba? Kung sabay ko niya, may taging una kay kwarta, gid nga lagi ma, dungog ra.
Mas mayo pa na nako. Saya na to.
Gidungo ka sa talibon na tuong ka. Tanaw ka.
You're not a scrimador if you're not willing to fight. Nana mo na.
This dueling tradition was brought to Hawaii and California by Filipino migrant workers as far back as the 1920s.
Eskrima stylists, all the masters before, they were just satisfied if they can beat their opponents in deathmatch. Hoiko Todo.
Grandmaster Inting Karen of Doce Pares was a reputed veteran of numerous Juego Todo matches. In one famous incident, Inting Karen was attacked by 4 knife-wielding assailants and survived.
Incident ato, ang iyang kumparenting Moros while the ongoing ng pista sa Magulo, minus papa to sa knife fighting. Pati yung amigos, yung panguha og sugat. Igupod to sa mga karinte sa tag-iya sa mga tindahan. Paggupod na, niagi niya, di pag-agi niya, lain man to, kung mutabang siya man eh. Pag-unsa man eh, ni Silo yung amigo siya, may gatubang, na naamtoy dang knife permit. Kupat, doon ka, kapit, kamog. Dinala sa bangko luyo, bangko iba, bangko sa unang nga suligod. Igo, isa na rin mo itong tumba. Pag tumba na, tiwasan ko siya. Yung snap, hansak siya. Antod, pass out. Di siya kay, kung ba man siya, katong yung kuwan nila, pass out siya. Nida siya smorgid. While ready for operation na siya, paibawan na among mga kuwan. Na, may radyo sa unang paibawan na. Niyagi na hiling, kanyete, papa ni kuwan. Sama na. Sinting Karen, nagihaya na dia. Yung gisun. Init pa man, doon na po may signs of life. So init pa man eh. Ang suway nga ito, gida. Itong pangag tubig sa papa, nirataber siya.
In the main streets of Cebu, the knife is the most common weapon. Eskrima knife fighting techniques are considered some of the best in the world.
Among gabi ang isusuhan mo. Dua ka ganin, dua ka ulit. Kini. O kini. Ya. Doon namin ibalik 2 ka target. Ano yan? 1. 2. 3. 4. Magabot sa 5, i-change na mo. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. 11. Good.
So pag sumpag na niya, pansin na siya dito. Pag pansin na niya dire ayaw na. Sud ang kamot. Kuno.
Cross. Kay pagduot niya, ana ni. Gunit siya dito ni. Oh.
Kung kaya ni mo ang pilsa sa usan niya kamot, pwede kamera yung tangtangon, i-twist lang yung kamot niya. Padong sa babaw.
Diri. Pak ni siya. Balik. Na diyon.
Ang uban mo naman. Punya, dako kay diferensya. Kay kini uglupi ka diyan na. Igo na ang amo diri. Diha.
Diri. Hakot na siya.
Unlike the Chinese and Japanese martial arts, which were originated and practiced by monks and nobility, Eskrima comes from more humble origins.
Kaya Eskrima God was known to be the art of the poor people. Was known to be the art of the bum. Because some members of the Paris, they were criminal elements side. Because they come from the very poor segment of society. Those Paris was just based in San Nicolas, in Pasay district, for many years.
The Pasil San Nicolas district of Cebu was a known breeding ground for many famous escrimadores.
Kining area, labi na sumuas Pasil, daghan ang mga tao mo notorious kay diha. Kagadong nagtrabaho na spear, nagtrabaho na sa isdaan. Ang ilang usog rin may puhunan nila. Kaya kung doon ay mga labi na ng union, sila kuhaon, either himon lang sa striker o himon lang sa cab. Ngayon na ang life diya. Ngayon notorious nga number 1 notorious sa Cebu, ang Pasil. Diya ako nagdako.
The image of an escrimador was that of a gunfighter, willing to accept any challenge simply for bragging rights.
Mo bitaw ni ang kanibling tawag. Basta once nga makadungog nga dauton ang among ngan, adto rin ni ngadto. Ana pangitaon rin na mo. Bukal ba kay dugo god nga tanon bugod. Kami ako, Dr. Marapaw, Winnie De La Rosa, akong mangod si Idi, si Muni, Mio De La Rosa. Mo ko ito'y fighter gyud. Ang katulang kang Dr. Marapaw, doon naman siya mga lodgers. Pagtawag na sa telepono, bungkag laging practice club. Kaya doon naman ang hagis. Nangadto yung mga tanan. Oh, why gito?
In the early 1970s, Filipino martial arts began emerging into the consciousness of the martial arts world. Doce Pares was invited to perform a series of demonstrations in the United States.
June ay primero dito. O niya kami sunod, tumitakoy. Rodo Pista, kami sunod.
We arrived in America in early 75. Gipademonstrate ko nila dyan sa, this is documented by Los Angeles, in the school of Dami Santo, group of Muslim, Filipino Kali Academy. Pabula ko to, so, sila, what's your style? I don't know, what do you mean by style? Huwag doon may kalimutan na ito sa style, Doce Pares. Dito naman sila, we just call your style Doce Pares style. Dito na, makindong style kay here, we identify pa rin. Uncle Takoy, he uses Kotokobada, Witik-Witik. Momoy is San Miguel style, ng Cortorina. My father's Largamano. Kaya kung Papa Long Range man. So we identify it by personality.
Pag ato na mo, the demand quicken.
Kinusin ko sa paredada, knife, blade, shit. You're surprised. You practically know everything. So you don't know. That's what you're doing back home. Para mo denaryo man. To them, they're surprised kay dito good. Kurto ka niya. Ragamano ka niya. Namarga. Kami kay kanan man.
The art spread fast. Tungod kay bago para sa mga tao, they talk to it.
But when I came back, akong iinan din sila. The best way to promote an art is to make it into sporting event. It's like boxing, they have sports, football, basketball. But how can we? When every time we spar, we kill each other. No parents in the right mind will allow their kids to study with us when they know a week later somebody will challenge him to a fight. We want to reach out to all corners of the world. We have to band together, civilize ourselves, civilize our way of sparring. That's the only way. So I formed a committee to draft the tournament rules in Eskrima. When we have the rules, we cannot fight because we don't have equipment. So I designed the headgear, the kicker, the gloves, everything. I designed 1976. My gears were so thin, not too amply protected. The body gear was only to here. And sometimes they fight without gloves. I put in some gloves there, but some fighters, they're not used to it. They forgot. They fight. Oh, I have no gloves. Stop. When we started holding these formal tournaments, Coliseum was always full because people thought that we're out to kill each other.
Pag championship ko, mga tao ko, nanagod sa ringside. Layo naman to, ng lingkod, wala na. Puno ang Coliseum.
People thought it was just like the old Goy Gotudo, it matches. No, but they found it out that we have gears. We have protected gears.
After the first national tournaments were held, Eskrima doors gradually shifted their focus from death matches towards organized competition. The bitter rivalries, which marked the age of Juego Todo, were coming to an end. The World Eskrima Cali Arnis Federation, the largest governing body for the promotion of Filipino martial arts through sports, holds the World Championships biennially, with every second championship returning to Cebu. The fighting art of Eskrima is now practiced all over the world.
My name is Heather Turnbull and I'm from Toronto, Canada.
Tim André Murdal from Norway. Ferenc Vankov from Hungary.
Sarah Charles, I'm from Great Britain.
Justin Lemke, I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, USA.
Andrea Cidarelli, and from Italy.
I started when I was about 14 doing Eskrima, and I just fell in love with it. I started, it was the school I started at, I did karate, and then once I got my coordination up, I started doing Eskrima, and I felt like it was just a whole other world of new things that opened up to me.
It's exciting, it looked fun. Because I do a multi-system, it means I can do all sorts of things. It's not just stick fighting, I do some knife work, you know, some empty hands. There's a lot to learn, and you don't have to be good at everything.
In Eskrima, we can have everything. The really fighting techniques, or just the coordination, or just having fun.
Perché è una disciplina marziale particolarmente interessante per la difesa personale ed è uno sport nuovo nel panorama marziale.
It's adrenaline. Once you learn and understand Filipino martial arts, it's very universal. It's an art within an art.
You look for technique as well as combinations, equally blocking or defending. It looks like you're just pounding away at people, but there are blocking patterns, drills. Using abanico, which is higher strikes, lower, footwork, you should be moving offline. If they're pounding away, it's very, very difficult to see the number of points, but essentially it's not just how hard you hit, but how many hits that you get in.
And I think of Filipinos as leading the way, and I've been really impressed. Yeah, I think because they're taught to pick up a stick from so high, you know. It's just natural. It's just something that comes naturally to them. It's inbred, you know. They're very fast with their hands.
Oh, every Filipino fighter is very, very, very good. They are very quick, very strong. They fight from the heart. It's really, really good.
Our guru or head coach came to the Philippines to train with many of the grandmasters, and so we were inspired this time to come earlier. So for us, this is an opportunity to come back to the home of Arnis and learn from the best. But you'll see from the results here that the Canadians and many other countries are now beating some of the Filipinos.
There might be a technological transfer there from us to America, because Americans and the Europeans, when they train hard.
If you want to get anywhere here, you really have to learn. I mean, you really have to work at it. We don't necessarily have to do that back home, because our people in school, they go, 7-8 hours a day and, homework, and that's it. Then they go play basketball, play baseball, go to martial arts schools, do other things. We have time to do that. Whereas here, Filipinos, just in education, they have to devote a large percentage of their growing up just to education. They don't have the time to devote to martial arts studies.
Once the foreigner learn the Filipino martial art, they do it 24/7. With us, I know life. I grew up here in Manila. I know it's hard to focus on martial art.
There are a lot of people in the Philippine martial arts, Filipinos that have migrated, people from Filipino families that migrated and then they were born later, other countries, Filipinos that have left and gone, and started teaching in other countries. I think there's a lot of people who've had a chance to catch up and pass a lot of people that are still stuck here because we have more opportunity to train and practice at home. Weather conditions, nutrition is better, people have a chance to be a little healthier. We have a lot more advantages for people to learn.
Eskrima is still spreading far and wide. It is still spreading far and wide. Ang kuan lang, ang tournament lang, dire sa Cebu, sa atong nakita lang, di na kayo intense ang competition. But it is spreading far and wide.
Mas popular karon dit sa abroad, dili diri sa ato. Ngari sa ato is not popular anymore.
Ang mga second generation na po interest. Mabta ni kay ko nga di ni maayo nagkanamo kawag tama mas ni kuyana pa ang mga foreign arts, martial arts kaysa Eskrima. Ang Eskrima suppose ato kita nang amumahon ba kay ato agunigon. Dili guniingon nga sa lain kitay nagbugnaan ang Pilipino. Noon sa gawas nga ato agi ni. Ya ato ini nga mumahon ta nya. Wa may interest ang mga tao.
Kung way maning kamot ini, way barog ini pag promote kining atong gugma sa atong Arnis, sa atong Pilipino siya, mamatay na siguro yung kamatayon, kaya mawara man.
This is the best time. If they have not recognized the significance, the beauty of the art, it is high time for them to realize now.
Kaning mga eskrimador nga ako na ilan nga una nako, pero nako mo sila mga unsung hero sa atong nasyon, sa atong Pilipinas. Eh, kung wa pa na sila, dili ni maila ni Pilipinas nga may laki sila sa martial art.
Me and my brothers were called that we were born with the stick in our hand. So, it's part of my life.
Ako nga, masiyan ako sa ang hibawaan ako ngadto sa mga katawhan nga pamagi ilang ano ba makatabang pud silang kugalingon parte sa depensa nya kaunahon na sila na kuha na ko nga mo ni gatudlo na ko mo ni
Pinadahin na sa mundo ko, di ko kapulan. Ang sukaron, di mo kapulang Eskrima. Kung para na ko, part of my life. Why retire ni? Ha? Masang pag-retire mo, di ko na i-retire? Di ko na i-retire, di ka ka-retire.
Bisan pa mong tanaw ko nila niya, maabot na panahon dili na sila mo angkon ako nagtudlo niya na pero sa hilom sa kasing-kasing nalipay ko may ila ginagamit. Hindi na kalimutan ako nagtudlo na.
Filanon sa atong mga igsuon. Ang kagubot o pagmahal tungod kay gisalikway. Ya dugaya, ayan ang dugaya, ayan ang dugaya. Panagiusap ang kinahanglan, ang sambit sa kahitasan. Panagiusap ang kinahanglan, ang sambit sa kahitasan. Sa atong katiliman ang uban, gibian